Hey guys, this is Juliet, your host. Just popping in to say if you like this podcast, subscribe for more content. I've been creating some great bonus material for you. Please subscribe and download so I can keep bringing you more permission granted. Thanks for your support. Thank you for joining Permission Granted. I'm your host, Juliet Ricci Legman. Today we have on our podcast Wendy Poischbeg. She is the CEO of the Greater Everett Chamber of Commerce, and we're just going to get into it. Thank you for being here, Wendy.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm honored that you asked me. So thank you very much.
Oh my goodness. So, just a quick tell us about yourself.
Well, I'm a business leader. I'm an economic development expert. I'm a champion for small business. I started my career at the Boeing company. I was 19 years old. I completely lied on my application about my skills, and they knew it, but they gave me a chance. And that wasn't a great fit for me. I was already wanting more in the entrepreneurship space, so I quit and started a small business. And I failed miserably at that too. But I met all of the people that would lead me in my life to something that I'm doing now. And I
Mhm.
can approach being that business champion because I was a complete failure at business. And I really want to be the person I needed that would have helped me be successful.
Yeah.
And that's what I get a chance to do now as the CEO of the Greater Everett Chamber. So it's a good life.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'll be honest, when I saw it, I hear it over and over. Oh, Wendy's doing great things. And when I saw you had begun that role, just what, couple months ago? I was like, oh my gosh, she's gonna take it and run, and we're so excited. And then the way you've been having these amazing women's events and beyond, they're selling out like hotcakes, well attended, very fruitful, and I'm just so excited. I attended one yesterday called the Rebecca Effect, about Rebecca on Ted Lasso and how to enter a room and own it. And it was amazing. I loved it so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for the feedback. A women's network is, something that we wanted right when we identified, okay, so what are some of the programs? What are some of the areas that are lacking here in the Everett area that we think that will help bolster the chamber programming? But more than that, we're looking to help businesses succeed. And when
Mhm.
we think about networking and how people are getting these community engagements or connections, networking is intimidating AF. I mean, I hear
Yes.
it all the time, and that's not an area for me that I always struggle with. And that's because I was given tools early on so that I
Mhm.
could walk into the room with confidence. And then on the days that I don't walk in with confidence, I am faking it till I'm making it. And
There you
and
go.
I got advice from a girlfriend years ago that said, "Well, I was appointed to a board and I walked in and I was immediately intimidated by all the men in the room or by all these big names, prestigious
Yeah.
names. And I was kind of sitting on the corner, or went and sat down and I thought, no, I'm here for a reason. I was
Mhm.
chosen to be on this board because I have something to contribute. I have something to give. And I just like booted up and walked over and offered my hand to every single person. And as she told me that story, I decided that I was going to do that as well. So maybe not the
Yes.
Rebecca effect. I was going to channel my Diana Rose and
Oh,
be Diana. And now I've been doing this for so long that it's easier for me. But now I want to alleviate all of that for the folks that felt
yeah.
I do. Yeah, I did. And so
And
like
I think I was going to say, I think that's the difference is, I felt I'm learning, yeah, you got to do some things that you don't want to do, but you know, I was drawn to the warmth of this event in particular. So that, and the others, I'm like, I'm not feeling it, like the other networking opportunities. So yeah.
No, as we grow and as we are really looking at our programming, my goal is that we're looking at the attendance list, and
Hmm.
that we're seeing like who need to be connected in this room, like, and do a lot of strategic thinking about you know how we are showing up and how are we connecting people, because
Yeah.
ultimately that's going to help your business grow. And that is these connections, that if they're not meaningful, if you don't know, like, and trust, as a marketing thing, if you don't know somebody and you don't like them and you don't trust them, you're not going to do business with them. And we want to
Yeah.
create these opportunities where you can know, like, and trust. And then as we can connect people strategically, that's really going to help them grow their business. And so
Yeah, exactly.
we can't just show up. And you don't join the chamber just to be like, okay, I'm doing a lot of work. We're here to help zhuzh it along too.
Well, and I want to say this is something that I've noticed in my last few months' journey, is that, people that I'm meeting and I talk to and that I'm learning about myself, when they're doing it in their unique, authentic way, like you, I met with Debbie. She is the manager of Snohomish Storage. I hope I said that right. And I toured her facility yesterday, and she loves her job.
She
And
does.
I'm like, what? Like, what? But it shows because she's doing things differently than other storage facilities. And it definitely shows in the warmth and the property, the people, everything, and the growth. And that's what I want to say is, like, when you're doing something you're passionate about, like you just leap out of bed in the morning. And that's how I feel now, finally, for the
Yeah.
first time in my life.
Nice. I'm so glad that you're having that now.
Yeah.
Yeah, years ago, I was struggling trying to figure out, like, okay, where's my path, and
Hmm.
where, I've done a lot of different things, but where am I going to land? And I had come across a YouTube video with Simon Sinek. I don't know if you
Love
follow
him.
it. Yeah. And so he, is known for the, discovering what your why is. It's about the
Mhm.
why, not the what. And I watched that video and I just went, I don't get it. And so a couple days later, my husband Matt said, I came across this video with Simon Sinek. It's about the why. And I
Oh
said,
my God.
yeah, I watched that and I didn't understand it. And he goes, what? And I go, I don't have a why. And
Mm.
he said, well, we're not getting off the couch until you figure it out.
Oh, that's
And
a good
we
husband.
did. God, Lord, girl, I have won the lotto. But to his credit, we did not. And we spent the afternoon figuring out, like, what is it that makes you tick? And we discovered, or I discovered, or I could put words to, that I feel my best when I can amplify and promote others.
Mm.
And once I was able to, be able to articulate that, it has driven my mission and my purpose in life. And
Yeah.
it's very selfish. I'm doing it because that's how I feel my best.
Yeah.
But it actually is. And so I can hop out of bed because I'm thinking, oh my gosh, how am I going to help somebody today? Or how am I going to share a story about somebody? And,
Yeah.
that, really, that's, it makes me feel fantastic.
And you are everywhere. Like, I mean, I'm just you are always there. Like, my social battery is very small, and you do it. And but it's, you do it because, not because you have to, because you want to and you love it.
It's true. And, even, before bed, sometimes it'll be like 9:30 and I'll be like, oh, I got an idea of how I can show up or how I can help this business. And then I don't want to go to bed because really, when I can think of, and so people give me a lot of, credit, like, oh, well, but really, I get enthusiastic about it. It really makes me
Yeah.
feel fantastic. So, um,
Yeah.
I'm just super grateful that I got to figure that out years ago.
Yeah.
Because not all work that I've done, sometimes it's felt really genuine and fulfilling, but
Hmm.
there have got to be some points where I'm like, oh, it's very transactional. It didn't feel really good. And
Yeah.
this, this fits my soul tank a little bit better. So,
Yes,
yeah.
yes. I just want to say, going back to the Rebecca effect, I will never forget. I worked at the Shack Art Center in Everett as the event coordinator, and I will never forget this image of you. We were putting on a rental, and I think it was for WIOA, the state employment.
Yeah.
And they were doing a team building, offsite meeting essentially, and you were the speaker. And it was probably 2016, 2017, right in there. And I will never forget, you showed up and it was before we opened. You showed up at the doors in this all black outfit with these boots, and you looked like I'm just gonna say you looked like Catwoman. And I was like, and I didn't recognize you. I was like, oh my God. And you just walked in with so much confidence, and I was just like blown away.
Oh my gosh. I don't think I can fit into that outfit today, but I appreciate the compliment. Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate the compliment.
Not to focus on your looks, what I want to focus on is your confidence because it blew me away.
I really appreciate that. I am in circles where I have been lifted up and I want to lift up.
Yeah.
And I want folks to know that, especially women, that I'm straightening the crown for you. I'm going to
Mhm.
figure out how I can, um, promote. There's so much competitiveness,
Yes.
and so because I surround myself with folks that are like that, I can walk in with confidence because
Mm.
um, I, I'm, my friends are like that. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that, the folks that I'm surrounding myself with are going to be the same way, and so I don't have to shrink back because I know that. Uh, I don't hang with folks that are mean spirited.
I
So if
just,
that's you, then then
then,
exactly. And I can see that
yeah.
that's your friendship circle. When we came to your book signing, the love
Oh,
and the community that you've built around yourself is very powerful, and you can
yeah.
feel it right when you go into the room, the energy like that. And
Yeah.
I don't want to be in rooms that aren't like that, and I don't participate. To be perfectly honest with you, and if you've got bad energy, I got to move on.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
And I think
time.
like, absolutely. And I think recognizing that is half the battle. It's just a testament to, surrounding yourself with people who love you and surrounding yourself with a world or what you do for a living that you're passionate about. And I think that is the secret sauce. It just, when we align with our actual purpose, when we go within and figure that out, or sit on the couch with our spouse and figure it
Yeah,
out, that
yes.
is where the magic happens. And, don't we want to be surrounded with happy, healthy, productive people?
Right, and folks that challenge us and
Hmm.
help us uh, coax that curiosity. That's another thing that I am so grateful to have a spouse that, I don't always get my way, right? I'm
Hmm.
not always right, and because I can trust so much in his opinion, I can I can I can take risks. I can
Yeah.
discover, where I need to, zhuzh, ebb, flow. Um, and I think that, having the ability to take risk and be more curious
Hmm.
also will certainly help our Rebecca effects.
Um, I have a question about couple things of your tenure. So, were you born in Everett? Have you always lived here?
No, I was born in Washington in Seattle.
Oh,
And then I grew up in the Linwood area. And
okay.
yeah, and so I met a guy and I moved to Everett when I was 19.
Hmm.
And I had, this affinity for Everett right away. I believe in this community. I opened a small business on Hewitt Avenue when I was 19 or 20, 22 years old. I had no
Yes.
business doing it, but this community supported me. And, I opened a coffee house and
Yes, I wanted to talk about Tropic of Cancer. It's my favorite. Okay.
okay, appreciate that. I
Yes.
um I I opened this coffee house, and it's because I saw these amazing spaces on Capitol Hill and in Seattle,
Mhm.
and since Seattle has this coffee culture, and that we used to have all these carts around, and then we would
Yes.
remember all the coffee carts, and so that's really what I was trying to do. But in Everett, they had a moratorium on carts. You couldn't have one outside. And the only cart that you could get back in the day was the hot dog guy, Bruce. I mean,
Okay,
he
yep.
grandfathered in. And I was like, you know, I, I mean, can you imagine me standing and freezing my ass off selling coffee?
Not gonna happen. I wouldn't do it.
So I decided to open a brick and mortar. And you got to sell a lot of coffee in order to make
Yeah.
it go, right? And so pretty soon it wasn't just coffee and scones. I had to learn to make sandwiches and soup. And Julia, I'm a terrible cook. My sisters are amazing chefs, but that
Can I
that's
just tell you my experience of Tropic of
please.
Cancer?
Oh my
Okay,
gosh, I
so
can't believe you've been there. It makes me so
I
happy.
mean, I'll have to find it. I took a picture of the sign because it was epic. It was like, forgive me for saying this, but it was like the Friends coffee house with the vintage velvety couches. And I will never forget, there was really good music playing because it was, alternative grunge time in the area. I was in high school. I think I was 16, or right around there, maybe 15. And so like, mid 90s, and I would go and sit there and I'd order a big mug of coffee, like the round big mug, like a mocha, and I'd get so high on caffeine. And then I'd order a piece of cake from Pave Bakery. I miss Pave Bakery.
Too. Me too.
And I'd write in the notebooks. There were all these sketchbooks, wirebound on the, and I'd write like love notes to the guy I had a crush on.
Juliet,
Shout
I
out
still
to,
have those.
we should go
I,
through them.
I'm gonna go through them. I hope I still have them. I might have just finally got rid of them, but I think I might still have them.
Oh, it would be a fun project to like publish those or something
Oh
because
my
I
gosh, yeah.
would I would do it because I had this crush on this guy, one of my brother's friends. I'm not gonna say his name, and I would like write notes and see if he wrote back and just on and on and on. So yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. That was one of the most special times in my life. I loved the community that we created in that space. I loved that, we had jazz, we had improv
Yeah.
theater. I met all the folks that, I because of that experience, that led me to the city of Everett to put on, events. It helped me
Yes.
dip my toe in the arts because I would have art openings and I would change out the art every month. And so it really did give me this amazing outlet. But what it didn't do is teach me inventory control, menu planning, spoiling, how to pay your taxes. I mean,
Oh,
I had no idea what I was doing. And, I didn't know the right questions to ask. I mean, that's the
yeah.
big thing is I'm I can take direction, but I didn't even know the right questions to ask, and so that,
Yeah.
as a chamber director, I want to be able to like, you probably didn't know, but you need a business license, you know.
Yes. Okay. Yes.
So, like, there's different things that we can kind of like, you probably didn't know this, but this is the steps you need. Or
Mhm.
you probably didn't know that you're paying somebody $16.25 an hour. That actually means $27.50,
Hmm.
because you have to pay L&I and you have to pay
Taxes.
CPA. Right. But, people are just like, not oblivious, but they just don't know.
No, you
And
don't know till you know.
and then it's usually you find out the hard way because you're in arrears, or, and so I wish that I had had somebody that could explain some of this to me. Um,
Yes.
and so I nearly, when I joke about nearly bankrupting myself, I really nearly did. And it was, I was lucky because the man I was married to worked full time, and
Yeah.
he, gosh, it was a brutal time for our relationship, but he was, extremely supportive until it just got to be like, hey, you're going to have to pull the Band-Aid off and and move on and get a full-time job that pays you. And it was amazing. I went and I got a job at Red Robin bartending,
Oh
and
my
I
God.
got to keep all the money I made every day.
Which is like, whoa, amazing. It's mind blowing, isn't it?
And so when we think about what we expect of small business, and then we continue to put some really hard, policies on
Yes.
small business that really, have the best of intentions, but the real true reality is very hard. And
Yeah.
so when I think about folks that have decided to open a business, they have my utmost respect, and I want to, figure out how to give them the most support, because it really is, it's tough. And right
I
now it's very, very tough. And as
it's
you
very, very tough with the ground shifting a bit underneath us.
Oh my gosh, and especially when you don't know what's going, every day is a different story and a different
Yeah.
scenario. And, we've got policymakers that, again, like, I'm not here to quibble about minimum wage, but
Yeah.
that minimum wage is putting folks out of business. Now, of course, we want a livable wage,
Yeah.
absolutely, of course, but the unintended consequences of some policies mean that businesses will close, and
Hmm.
that, and there are, we're not really thinking through on every single angle. Like, I think about the restaurant world and the
Yeah.
minimum wage for a server, when you're not taking into account tips, or, and so really there's just different things that we just have to be more
Well,
mindful of.
you start seeing the restaurants close on Mondays or Sunday and Monday because they just can't staff their facility, and then eventually they might close because it just, it does have consequences. I mean, frankly,
Yeah, you're
um,
absolutely right. And then folks will say, like, we don't have nice things, or
mm,
we don't have the downtown nightlife that we used to. Well, you
yeah,
didn't go out. We are all tightening our belts. I mean, Matt and I, we we don't go out to eat a lot. And then we are also or not victims, but we'll also, oh, like, nothing was open past 9 p.m. on the day that we decided to go out,
exactly.
like, which is,
There's
ridiculous.
no restaurants. Yeah.
Right.
I
So if we're not supporting, what was our expectation for those folks?
Exactly. And yeah, trying to balance the two, right? Because, being in the community and being fiscally responsible and, there's a way to do both, I'm sure, but, it's hard. It takes
Yeah.
work. I want to ask you really quickly about your experience with the Economic Alliance, and also second part of that question is the connection to the day between art and commerce or art and economics.
I love that you asked this question. So, as the former CEO at Economic Alliance, so 13 years ago, there was a failed attempt at getting the University of Washington to site their satellite in Everett, and they chose
Oh,
Tacoma instead. And the folks, the powers that be, the legislative body that were making the decision, the feedback was that Snohomish County did not come as a united voice. They did not
hmm,
come with they didn't provide the confidence that there was a entity in charge, or that they would um, be able to get the project off the ground, and with a
mhm,
groundswell of support that was all united. And so they decided to take what was then known as the Everett Area Chamber of Commerce the South County Chamber, which is now the Linwood Chamber, and
Okay.
the Economic Development Council, and they forced merged all three of those organizations. And I say forced because it really was a forced merger. There was over 750 members of the Everett Area Chamber at the time. And so it was kind of brutal. And then, what happened is they had three, really powerful executive directors, but then when they merged them together, they were like, well, you're not the boss of me. I had my own organization,
Oh.
And so it fell apart really quickly. And when they forced those organizations together, it became the Economic Alliance. And so
Mm,
Alliance, it has Everett Area Chamber's original UBI number. All of the assets of the chamber are now at the Alliance,
wow.
and serve as this as the regional economic development organization over all of Snohomish County. They're the designated economic development operation for the Department of Commerce, and so
Hmm.
essentially they're the boots on ground for the state locally. And I loved being the CEO of that organization. I believe in the work they do, but we definitely need a chamber that's hyper focused on Everett and
Mm,
and meets the needs of, Everett is not the same as Linwood, is not the same as Darrington, is not the same as
very
Monroe.
true.
And so while the county definitely needs this voice, it's okay for Everett to, have this rah, and that we're going to be, putting all of our eggs for this basket. And
Yeah.
so this opportunity to lead and to start from scratch. And I do want to tell you, I've learned a lot from in business since I was 20 years old. So now, while I was a big failure back then, things are different
But you were a success because you learned all of that. So you can't have this without that,
now. Yeah,
right? So
I'm
it was
teachable.
a success. Exactly.
I'm
And
teachable.
and I want to say my experience growing up in Everett, I've lived in Portland, I've lived in Chicago, and I ended up back here. I've lived in Tacoma, ended up back here to be closer to family and all that. I always see Everett as it's a little bit of a love-hate. I'm not gonna lie. But here's what I love. I love Painfield. I love the marina. I love all the things I see on LinkedIn about developing downtown and community growth and all of that. Um, but it's always been, we thought the Navy was coming, and that was going to be a huge boon. Um, two steps forward, one step back, two steps forward, and that's where you come in, right? The chamber comes in.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I describe it much the same way. And I feel really great about where we're at right now.
yeah,
I feel like the Puget Sound region has priced itself out. We see a number of businesses that, like I said, policies that are being created for the best of intentions that are not business friendly.
yeah.
Not business friendly for the state. And we can't afford, if you think about it, we can't afford to have folks leave the state. It will change your electoral college. It will change a lot of things. I mean, let's be honest about what that could look like. Um, we can't always ask business to pony up the dough for
Mm,
every single thing that's imagined. And I want to be able to help coalesce and coordinate things a little better so that way we're
mhm.
not redundant, and that we're not always tagging businesses to fund every single thing. I mean, there's ways that we can be more streamlined. We can share resources. I want to talk
Yeah.
to you. I have a couple ideas or questions about your business, but I want to
Mm,
just mention about the creative economy that you asked about. And
mhm.
when I think about successful businesses, it's because they are having to be creative in their strategies, in their
Yeah.
approach. It could be with marketing, it could be with designing the next widget. You have to have folks that can engineer creativity, and we
Yes.
can't lure the next best business if we don't have folks for where the creative mind wants to live and play.
And
And
flourish.
exactly. So you can have a community that is devoid of all of that, and you will not see creative industry there. And when you're thinking about the engineering talent and attracting that kind of talent
Yeah.
for a Zero Avia, for a TerraPower, for a Zap Energy.
Mm.
They're not going to go live where they can't get some really good tacos. They can have
Yes.
a beautiful park, and they can express themselves at the Shack Art Center. I mean, these are
Yeah.
areas that they have to feed their creative mind as well, and they want their kids to go to good schools. And so, if you don't, it is
Yes.
an ecosystem, and
Yep.
so we have to help our creative economy flourish in order for the whole ecosystem to thrive,
I
and so
have to say, I saw with Tacoma living there, we were there, I think, 7 years. Um, there's 200 at the time anyway, 250,000 people, so it's bigger than Everett. But it was cheaper to live there than Seattle. So a lot of creative pioneers went there, and the city had, and I think still has, a flourishing investing in the arts and the artist. And that equals people going out and spending money and young people fixing places up. And I mean, incredible,
and
incredible.
we're missing out on the cultural access fund. So,
Mhm.
Tacoma has implemented their cultural access. And so that's a 0.01%
Yeah,
applied to sales tax. And it allows, I think, upwards of $9 or $10 million to be invested into the arts in the Tacoma area. And now King County has also invested, but Snohomish County and Everett have not. And that really puts us at a disadvantage, a competitive and economic disadvantage when you can go across
yeah,
a border, a King County border, and they're investing millions of dollars into their
yeah.
creative economy, and then we're not. And then we can't lure businesses, and
Mhm.
we're infrastructure. There's
And have those family events, have that, brand new, young, hip business growth, all those crazy things that people try because they can, because they got a grant or whatever.
right, and there's ways, we've written the framework. We just need political support, and we hope that we can get that. We would you, you could put the funding towards, not only just, public art, but you could put it towards visual, performing, literary, culinary. I definitely believe, so these
Ooh.
are areas that you could invest. We could invest in transportation for kids to be able to go to field
Mm.
trips to our theater and to our, art spaces. Right
Mm-hmm.
now, not only is our arts education getting cut, but then when it costs more to transport our kids to some of these opportunities, it makes them impossible to fund. And if we don't
Mm-hmm.
have kids opening theater doors, opening the door to the Shack Art Center when they're 3 and 4, we need to be doing that from the time of youth, so that that's a door that they will
Till
open all
you
the way to adult.
spark their
Exactly.
inspiration, right?
Absolutely. But they'll be more likely to open a theater door as an adult if they were used to going through as a youth. And so there's opportunities for cultural access in Snohomish County. It's a councilmatic vote,
Okay.
and nobody likes to see their taxes raised. I don't want to see my taxes raised. But I do want nice things, and I want my kids to be smart. I want them to have access to the creative economy, because I know that kids that play an instrument or have an
Yeah.
opportunity to paint or to um, wrestle with their literary words to create, great thoughts. Uh, they're great employees. They're great community
They're
members.
innovators, and they're happy.
Right. And so the creative economy would definitely see, you'd see an increase um, in more businesses that would be attracted here if we could bolster that up. And
Yeah.
currently, Washington State considers gaming and software engineering as part of the creative economy. And I'm not here to argue whether that's right or wrong,
Mm.
but it disproportionately sets that, that we have a larger creative economy than just our painters, stage hands. Then, so sometimes I'm like, well, I don't know if that's an accurate reflection when you add software,
Yeah.
but but if that will help us, move the needle, then, I'm definitely like, okay, well, I
Well,
acquiesce to the state.
um, I'm really interested in this. I'm so glad we talked about this portion, and I want to highlight that, forgive me, 0.01% for the arts. Is that right? Okay.
It would be an increase of 0.01%. And we hate to see a sales tax go over 10. I mean, and
Yeah,
now we're
for
pushing over.
sure.
That's never a good number. But we do it for homeless, we do it for affordable housing, we do it for mental and public health. I would make the case and that this is as important because if we could stabilize our creative economy, you would have less problems in the other areas. Um,
Yes.
and so, and I know many folks that probably question that, and but again, I'll show you many communities that while they're strengthening their arts and creative culture, folks aren't feeling so alone, and
And it literally saves lives and gets people off the streets. I mean, you know, just literally creating community is what we need more than anything right now.
absolutely. And folks are really struggling with the connections, right? And that's
Hmm.
why our
Yeah.
programs have been so successful because people are really craving connections. We're seeing so many people that are, they're staying home. Now they're dining in, they're door dashing their meals. They're not going out. They're not because of, and we can blame it on the pandemic or just,
Yeah.
our phones. And so making these opportunities where we can, connect people people are really responding to that because I think that they're seeing that the loneliness epidemic is a real thing and
Yes.
that they're seeking other opportunities, and we need to do that, and doing that through the arts, I
Yeah.
have to think is a great way to go.
I agree. And I will note that like the sort of Instagram addiction, it's real. I mean, like I feel more comfortable staying home and doing this than I do going out, but I have to force myself and it always pays off every single time.
Every single time. I get it.
Hmm.
And I wonder too, just with the, having, Instagram, where everything's beautiful and everything is so
Yeah.
curated. And that just puts a lot of pressure when you're going out. Like the other day, I said to Matt, I'm not going to wear makeup when we leave. And I go, I'm on my way, but I'm not going to put any makeup on. And he was like, thank you, but I had to like talk myself into like just leaving the house
Yeah.
without, putting on a face,
Hmm.
putting on
You
something
go,
different.
girl.
I know. I know. I did put a baseball cap on. You're welcome.
I love it. I love it so much. Oh my gosh, I have a funny story about that, but I digress. We don't have time for um I want to touch on okay, so you had a couple questions about my business and then I want to before we get off, because we've probably got maybe 10-ish minutes. Um I want to talk about the future. So we'll get to that.
Yeah.
But
My question about your business is, I think about folks with decluttering and,
mhm,
when I'd like to know more about that because I feel like when folks can declutter, it cleans up the mind a little bit. Not just like I
yeah.
was, my former life partner, my former not life, my ex. He would say,
Mhm.
if you don't take care of your space, you kind of probably don't take care of your life.
Ooh,
And I wonder now that while you're in that space, do you feel that? Is that what you kind of help streamline? Because I know that when I'm cluttered, I'm not
yeah.
efficient. I'm not doing my best
It's
work. And so I'm just kind of
very
curious how
stressful.
you approach it.
Yeah, very stressful. Um, so I grew up in a little bit of a pack rat home, and I'm saying that gently. Uh, so I learned to, um, I'm just gonna say it straight. I learned to create paths and piles and straighten. So you always see me straighten things perpendicularly. I'm not like the home edit. I don't do color coding, although I color code some of my books because I love it. I don't, my cupboards are kind of messy, whatever. But here's what I do know. My husband and I live in 528 square feet with 9 cats. And we have essentially 3 sheds. We have 4, but I'm only going to say 3 because one's not insulated on the property, and they're about 100 square feet each. So we have different purposes. One's like a Zen shed, one's my she shed, one's Ron's office, etc. And, you know, Ron has an office cat out of the anyway. So my point in saying this is the reason we chose that home in Everett is because we wanted to live the tiny house life. And because it forces you hopefully to not accumulate too much stuff. And so we've been very successful. We've been there about 8 years, and it took 7 years before we actually got a storage unit. It finally broke down. And I started decluttering the living room and stuff because I was like, oh, it's getting a little heavy in here and I can't think. I can't move. So that has been my experience. So my philosophy behind the decluttering is I truly believe organizing is great, but if you don't declutter, it's going to happen again. And there are people that can argue for both sides, but I'm all about getting rid of stuff. I just love it. I love going to the dump. It's very cathartic. I love straightening and getting rid of what I find when I go through people's garages is half of it is empty boxes and bags. So there you go, done. It just makes you feel good.
Yeah.
And I would say I truly have a spiritual um, mission behind it, and that is to help people minimize or go the minimalist route and be mindful so they can come home and not be stressed out.
Yeah.
So,
I love that, Julia. I took a Simplify Your Life class years ago. I was probably 20, 22 years old. And it was all about basically your money or your life. And,
mm,
there's some things like, because it was, in a way, it was like, do you want to, how many hours are you going to work just so you can buy a new coffee mug because
oh,
it's the latest thing at Target. And when I looked at the hours that I would have to work, so I could, some things are going to be great because you're going to be, it's worth it. Like at one point, I wanted to go out to coffee every morning. I felt a connection at Starbucks. I ran into folks that I would, I ran into folks. But then at one point, I decided, okay, that's $5 a day, and I'm not
mhm.
willing to go to work and be away from my family for that. But I do want to do it for to go to Village Theater. So,
Yeah.
I had to make some choices, right?
Ooh.
But to simplify your life, it really, it was a class, and it was all about kind of what you're talking about with decluttering. But it first starts by not buying anything. But
Exactly. Oh
anyway,
my gosh.
about your business, and I'm glad that you told me a little bit about it because I think I know 10 people that could use your services.
Well, I'm here for it. I have a passion for it, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm all in, but I will do it until I can sustain myself with my creative projects, which means the podcast and writing.
Yeah,
But I'm in. I'm happy to give it a go. I've always wanted to do it, and I'm doing it right. I hired a bookkeeper. She's got me on track, and
I love it.
I can't even say enough about Ashley Elzea at Fiscal Fox Bookkeeping. She helped me do my UBI business license and all the things, and it's been so fruitful. But yeah, I'm
Writing.
in it to win it. I'm very passionate about it, just so I can be my own boss, really, and have some freedom, you know?
Yeah, I feel that all day long. I do. Yeah.
So I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say we were going to talk about the future.
Yes, please. So let's talk about the future of your journey and the Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah. Well, you know, I can only kind of future cast the next year, maybe
Mm.
2 years, because my goals are to expand our membership. I'm really wanting, I have a certain number that, I want to get to. I know that we were at 750 when the chamber was merged. And so I believe that that's, we have more than 10,160 business licenses.
Wow.
Those are folks, I mean, that's not everybody that's not even registered. And folks, you're going to have to get registered. Um, um, that is, we're only tipping the iceberg, or at
Yeah.
the tip of the iceberg. And so I know we can hit that number. And I need to hit those type of numbers just so we can offer the programs and
Yes.
the trainings that will really help businesses. So right now I'm focused on building our membership. So we have, the members in our collective that we can then connect and link people to. So, it's
Yes.
like,
Yes.
so we need to build that ecosystem. So, my first goals are to increase our membership. I have dreams of doing a lot more advocacy work legislatively so we can be a powerhouse for Everett businesses. So before you make a decision on a policy, that you will listen to Everett businesses before you will
Ooh,
understand the ramifications of what said policy could be. I want them to be
mhm.
like, oh, I'm not even going to entertain this until I ask the Everett Chamber members what their thoughts are. So
I love it.
I really want that. And our community deserves that. And then the other piece is I want to lead more outbound missions to other communities with our community members, so we can see what other cities are doing. And
Yeah.
my hair is falling in. So we can see what other cities are doing that is successful and learn from that. So whether that be, where I'd like to do is, any place that you fly out of Payne Field.
Oh,
Um,
yes.
yeah, but I was able to go to New York with the Bellevue Chamber this past fall because they were exploring, some public spaces ideas
Mm,
that they'd like to integrate, and similar to what New York is doing with their public or their business improvement districts, the Chelsea Market,
mhm.
Times Square. Those are all funded by business.
Yeah.
And these are opportunities for us to learn from areas of that have been doing it for a while and how we can implement some great ideas, or but pass on the ones that were tried and aren't a fit for our
Aren't
community.
working. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, we've got the World Cup that's coming here in a couple years, and how are we going to show up for this community of international travelers so that they will see Everett in the very best light, and what that looks like, and how do we show off our creative economy, our arts, our downtown.
Mhm.
These are all opportunities for us to show up, and we have to show up. Um, we have to show up in a way that's authentic for us.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
that means coalescing our artists and our historic preservation folks so we can show up
Mm.
with our authentic selves, because we have a community identity that is different than Seattle's, and we should be
It's
showing
true.
off that, and
It's
so
it's like I see it, forgive me, I'm just gonna say it because my I grew up here. So Boeing, obviously, little bit conservative, little bit blue collar, a little bit like bootstraps. There's this great mix of energy and vitality, and then a little bit of grit. I mean, all of that.
yeah, we're working on a creative marketing plan right now for our downtown nightlife. And,
Oh,
we came up with a whole bunch of different ideas. And, I was sitting with it and I'm like, folks from Seattle are not driving up here on a Tuesday night to go out to and have a drink. Uh, they might come up once in a while on a Friday or a Saturday, but who's going
yeah.
to show up on a Tuesday or a Wednesday at 10 p.m. to keep our bars and our nightlife going? And it's folks that live right here. And when I think
Mm,
about who lives right here, it is the working, it's our workers. It
hmm.
is it is our Boeing workers. It is
Yeah.
our blue collar friends. It is the nurse that is working at Providence. And
Yep.
so we've created a campaign called Night Shift. And so we're switching from, taking off your work boots and putting on your boot scoots. And
Ooh.
right. And so what that looks like, taking on, we're done with the scrubs, and now we're gonna go out with the girls and have a, a martini, and
Yes.
really honoring who we are as a working blue collar community. We're the workers.
Mm.
We're not fancy. We're not the tech bros,
Nope.
but we do have a community here that is resilient and supports each other, and we
Yeah.
want to highlight that. And so we're working on, I think we were calling it Night Shift, but apparently that has been banned by Instagram because it refers to prostitution. So
Oh.
we're calling it Late Shift.
Wait, late shift?
I think we're calling it the Late Shift or something
I
like
love it because
that. Or
you
such.
could curtail it into the late, like the late show, like there's so many ways you can take that. I love
Yes.
it.
And so you'll be seeing that marketing campaign come out pretty quickly. So
Shout
yeah,
out to I've never been, so I need to go. Marcel, a new little cocktail lounge.
it's
And what's the speakeasy on Colby?
Colby Club.
Colby Club. Yes.
They're
So
both
there's more, but oh my
There's
God.
Lucky Dime, there's the new Horseshoe, there's Tony V's Garage. There's a number. Oh, and then we have a new record store, Apollo XO Records, that
I'm so excited.
I mean, oh gosh, it's we've got it in spades. We just need to
Okay.
let people know about it.
Okay, I'm so glad you said this. So I'll try to list all these in the show notes because
Oh,
this is
thank you.
fascinating. When I was high schooler, Everett had the used record store downtown in a couple different locations, a new CD or record store. There was, I think, a bookstore, Pilchuck Books. I missed that. And I think there was a vintage clothing. So I always see I need a clothing store, a record store, a bookstore, and of course, that's me, Generation X. I know things have changed, but that's success to me.
Well, you hit it on the head. So all of those folks came up with we all came up together
Yeah.
when I had the Tropic of Cancer, which don't name your coffee shop after a Henry Miller book with the word cancer in it. I could have chose Tropic of Capricorn, but that book didn't get banned, and I thought that I was so bougie.
I love Tropic of
After a Henry
Cancer.
Miller book. It's just like, oh gosh, in Everett, know your audience, sis. Anyway, but Rocket Records, so it's Peter
Hmm.
Durbin, and we
Yes.
had dinner last night. We're still friends after all this time. Dwayne Kirby Jensen with
Yep.
Pilchuck Books. These are folks that really we had a Hewitt identity, and now we do as
It's
well
amazing.
with new folks, and they're giving it their all. And we've done the 2 steps and the 1 step back, and now
Yeah.
we're going to go 5 steps forward, and we're just going to keep
Yeah.
going straight up.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so we're pretty much out of time, so I'm gonna wrap up there. Is there anything else that you want people to know?
Uh, I think the biggest thing I want folks to know is that if you're a dreamer or if you're a maker, there's a place for you here in Everett. We
Yeah.
make things here. You can make it here, and
Woo.
I want to amplify that. So thanks for the opportunity.
Oh, I love it. I love it so much. And we'll connect about show notes because I want to get it right. I want to make sure everything people need is there. Wendy, thank you so much. I could talk to you all day. We are going to do a little bonus section, but we're going to take a pause first. And anyway, thank you.
It's my
Thanks for listening, everybody. I'm so grateful you were able to join us today. Please share and like and review this podcast. Also, if you have any comments or questions about anything, I would love to hear from you. You can reach me at juliettricci@gmail.com, and info is in the show notes. Till next time, have a great week.